All right. Okay, appreciate everybody coming today. Thank you. Obviously a very important win. Back and watch the tape. It's one of those games that looked very similar on tape to what it looked like when you watched it in real time. So confirmed a lot of things for us. I thought the guys played extremely hard and made plays when they needed to be made and critical points in time in the game. So in a hard-fought battle, and that's really at the end what wins games. Like we said, the game is about the players, and our players made the plays to win the game. So that's where we're at. What questions do you have?
John, did you get any update with Michael Pierce yet?
No, he's still, the MRI is not back yet, and we haven't heard from our doctors on that yet.
John, with Pierce going out, Travis Jones made his NFL debut, and obviously probably had to play a little bit more than you might have had designed. How do you think he did in his first half?
I thought he played well. You know, I mean, I think Travis is going to be a very impactful player, and that was his first outing out there, you know, and he played hard, and he's going to learn a lot from it. He played well enough for the first time out. You'd say he played well. But, of course, you know, we have high expectations for him, and he's only going to get better from here.
Coach, after watching the film, how did you assess Daniel Lele as the game went on?
Right, probably a really good point you're making. I mean, as the game went on, I think he really settled in. You know, he never played left tackle in a game before in his life. So to go out there and get a feel, the two rushers they had, you know, obviously coming off the edges, were both, you know, very good football players. And it just seemed to me that once he kind of got settled down and, you know, loud stadium, silent count, really hadn't been practicing the silent count all week with the ones. Once he kind of got the timing of that down and got a feel for the speed of the game, seemed to get his confidence and into the second half where he started, I think he felt like he belonged out there, you know, and started playing really well. So that was a big plus for us. The whole offensive line played extremely well, and he's kind of a good example of that.
Coach, Kyle Hamilton played less snaps than he did the previous 2 weeks, but he had that big play. Was that matter that New England wanted to run the ball as far as using safeties, or just wanted to kind of step back a little bit?
You know, he played the plays he had. He played really well. I mean, we'll kind of work that every single week. You know, you move guys around. A lot of guys are learning. You know, Kyle's developing. It's his third game as an NFL player. You know, and obviously had a learning experience the week before. You know, as a lot of guys, young guys did and do, especially in the back end. So, but I thought he worked hard all week. He had a sense of urgency to try to become, you know, a little bit better of a player, you know, this week than he was last week, and he became a much better player. And then to see him come up and make that play, you know, in that critical moment was kind of a reward for that. You know, I mean, that's a play not too many people will make. I'll also say Marcus Peters. I mean, that's a fumble catch that not too many people are ever going to make either. His ball skills are just one of a kind. So turning point play in the game. But you know, Kyle let a little primordial scream on the sideline there after that. You know, so I think that was a good moment for him.
Speaking of moments, what was it like to see Brandon Copeland go out there? I guess he practiced with the team for 3 times. I mean, it's his hometown team. He's been out of football. How meaningful was it to watch that? And how did he play? How did it look on film? Right,
very meaningful. He played well. I would say the best way to describe it is he did his job. You know, he did it well, and that's saying a lot for a player that was here for a week. You had mentioned last week how he had a lot of carryover. You know, he remembered a lot of the principles of the defense, but I ran into him in the locker room afterwards, and I said, I bet you weren't expecting this a week ago. You know, he laughed, but he was pretty happy.
John, I know you were happy with the way that Dobbins looked in the game. The medical people sometimes talk about how important it is, how a guy feels coming out of his first game after dealing with an injury like that.
Who are you talking about?
Dobbins. What was your sense of just how he came out of it physically? I mean, was he feeling good?
He seemed good. You know, I haven't seen him today. According to the medical, you know, report that we got back, he's in good shape. You know, so he was excited in the locker room after the game. He felt good about it. So we'll go from here.
John, this is looking ahead a little bit, but this is week 4. So next week, Tyus Bowser or Gus Edwards or Charlie Cole, those guys will be eligible to be activated. Do you anticipate any of those guys being activated as early as next week?
You know, I don't know. We'll see. That's I really don't have a comment on it because I don't know enough to say either way. So, you know, I have my fingers crossed.
Overall, with the secondary, I mean, they had some yards, but it looked like it was really tight coverage in the secondary. There weren't busts and stuff like that. Just how do you evaluate how the secondary and pass defense played overall?
I thought they played well. You know, I mean, there were some yards here and there, obviously, but it wasn't. It was more. You know, we had some crossing routes got hit on us. in man coverage, which I think we could have done better on. We got to keep working on that. But those are tough routes to cover. We hit a few of those too on offense. You may have noticed. So other than that, we were good. We still kept the ball in front of us. I think we tackled pretty well most of the time. So just got to keep improving.
John, do you have an update on Jason Pierre-Paul? You had mentioned he might be here this week, physical and whatnot.
Yeah, he's supposed to be in here. Should be in here today sometime. So I haven't been told otherwise, unless plans have changed. But I've kind of been in my cave up there, so I'm not sure.
And obviously, it's no secret that Devin Duvernay can run, and he has big playability just from what he did, what he's done in the past. But the kind of the all-around skill set, the ability to make tough contested catches, get his feet in, has that shown you a lot? And is that something you really feel like he's made big strides on this year?
I would say so. Those are things that we felt like were in his skill set when we drafted him, but it takes usually, some development in the National Football League. He's been playing ever since he got here in some capacity, but to see him kind of flourish in the last few games in this season in fulfillment of those expectations is just great. I was in the weight room earlier and saw him, and he's never satisfied. He's just never satisfied. And that kind of mindset, is what goes a long way.
John, we talked so much about quarterbacks developing as passers. Do quarterbacks sort of develop as runners too as a career goes along? Are you seeing Lamar sort of seeing the field differently maybe in that respect as well than you did earlier in his career?
I haven't thought about it like that. I think Josh Allen has developed as a runner. I mean, he was a tough runner his rookie year. He runs over in the sideline and got into it with Matt Judon one time. Remember that? And came up screaming. I said to him, hey, calm down, dude. You're on our sideline over here. And he laughed. He's a great guy. But he's running the ball really well, I can tell you that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about right now.
John, when people talk about Lamar, they always talk about that 2019 MVP season. It was a great season. Do you feel, though, the way he has played so far this year, that he's even playing better at a higher level than he did in 19?
I'm not going to do that question. That's 2 different years, 2 different lifetimes.
John, in the past, I think the perception of this offense was that the run game would set up the pass, but you guys have been able to pass the ball really well, even when the run game hasn't been there. I guess, what do you kind of attribute that to, and how do you think Greg Roman has kind of handled the shift in just how this offense is run?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of ways to look at all that, and I think a lot of it is just kind of like just distracting, I mean, you try to make something out of something that's not really a narrative, you just try to be the best offense you can be with what you got, at that given point in time, how guys are playing and who you're playing and all that kind of stuff. And then the evolution kind of happens as it goes. So I think Greg, obviously, I believe Greg's doing a great job. I always feel that way. I think he's always done that, and nothing's perfect. Offense, defense, special teams, head coaching, training room, equipment room, weight room. None of it's perfect. Scouting. But everybody does their best, and I do believe that Greg is really good at taking, what you have and putting it together in a way that makes it really tough to defend. And if you ask any defensive coordinator or head coach in this league, they'll tell you that this offense is hard to defend, So that's a pretty good measuring stick right there. Now, executing and then keeping it going and coming up with, ways to keep people off balance, that's what coaches do, that's what coordinators do. And I really believe Greg is one of the very best in the business at that.
And I know I don't know if you've had a chance, but have you heard anything more about the Bateman fumble from the league, or have you gotten a chance to take a longer look, and has your opinion changed? Yeah,
no, we looked at it. My guy Daniel Stern brought it in, and we looked at it, and, we just didn't think there was control. He ever had caught the ball. You got to catch the ball to take 2 steps and make a football move first, and you got to have control of it. So we didn't think that was the case, but we haven't heard from the league yet, and it doesn't really matter what we think, so it is the way it is. But it'll be interesting just from a purely, understanding the rules in terms of what to challenge and what not to challenge in the future. That'll be good for us to understand how they look at that play.
John, after watching the film, what did you think about Justice Hill, and what worked for the running game yesterday that necessarily wasn't working the first couple weeks?
I thought Justice did really well. You know, he's been coming on all camp like that. You know, he's just really even a better player than he was last year, you know, when he went out. So he and I, we were talking about it after coming off the field, because he and I have been talking about this game, that he was going to have this game. And to see him have this game is just really, it's really rewarding and not surprising at all. So we just executed well. We had some room on certain plays, and it worked out for us.
In that vein, it looks like Tyler Linderbaum just kind of keeps steadily getting better. What do you see from him on film and where he's improving?
I see him steadily getting better. You know, it's well said. But it really is that. You know, he's very talented. He's very tough, determined guy. And he's gotten better each week. He's only 3 games in, so let's see where it goes. But he's doing a good job.
They averaged 5 yards a carry against you guys. I mean, when you watch the game again, anything stand out that you particularly need to clean up on that front?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, the quarterback, you know, kind of garbage yards, I'd call them, that shouldn't have happened. You know, those are the ones that our guys will be most upset about. Those are yards that really just, they aren't even rushing yards, really. You know, they're pass rushing yards, and we've got to do a better job with our rush lanes. And then, you know, we had a couple of downhill runs got us a little bit where we'll look at some fits, you know, the way we fit some of those runs. They did a good job, and they're a good blocking team. They had a couple of good schemes. They got really good backs, so they deserve credit too. But in terms of the running game, we can be a little bit better with our fits and then not give up the quarterback yards, which, again, going back to this week, because you always apply last week to the next week, is even much bigger challenge with Josh Allen.
John, it seems like you guys are getting closer to being 100% at corner. I mean, Marcus and Marlon played almost 100% of the snaps. But what did you see out of Stevens, Armour Davis, and Demarion Williams? And in an ideal world, would you like to see one of those guys kind of emerge as the, quote, number 3, since that's become a starting position? Or do you like being able to mix and match?
I like them both to emerge as at number 3, and also, you know, other guys. I mean, Brandon Stevens is, you know, he's coming off a little bit of a muscle pull. So, you know, he probably didn't have a step, you know, full step there. Darryl Worley does a nice job. I mean, he's in the mix there as a corner. Even some young guys like Darius Washington is practicing really well. I'm not really worried about that. I think we just keep coaching those guys and just keep developing them, and they're going to get more and more comfortable out there.
Coach, kind of looking ahead to the Bills, in terms of preparation, does it help to have the type of offense that you guys have in terms of comparing it to the offense you're about to face?
That's a good question. I mean, they do run a lot of similar plays, you know. They run different plays, too. They've got their own style. Very physical offensive line. You know, playmaking receivers, especially number 14 and number 88, and number 6. You know, they got some downhill, elusive backs, hard runners. So that's just starting, looking at them, you know. Some of it being TV scouting even. You know, you watch them on TV, you get a feel for them, too. But I saw all 3 games, or 2 games last week, you know, offense and defense. So, big challenge.
John, you and Sean McDermott, you guys go back to your days back in Philly. Over the years, have you guys ever talked about how you guys you found both your franchise quarterbacks kind of in the same draft class in 2018?
I remember really talking about that specifically. We've gotten together a few times, like at owners' meetings, and we talk on the phone every now and then. And, you know, his daughter's a great softball player. National caliber recruit. So she was visiting Notre Dame a couple of weeks ago, and Allison went over and met with her mom, Sean's wife, and his daughter. Saw her play a little softball over there, so that was kind of cool. But so we talk about stuff, but we haven't really reminisced about our quarterback situations. Yeah.
I imagine we'll ask you more about this, but did you have a sense that Jerry was heading to Denver to work with that team?
Yeah, I got a little word on it. You know, Megan gave me a heads up on it. You know, and I knew Jerry wanted to kind of get back in some capacity. You know, he's up there in the great north, up north as we call it in Michigan. You know, so I think he needs to get a break from the woods every now and then. But he's a great pick for Denver. You know, I mean, we play them obviously, so that is in the back of my mind. But he'll be very helpful. I think he already was last night for him. Did a great job, so it's not surprising. Great coach, knows the game inside and out. All right, great. Thanks, guys.